very warm good morning to all of you. You're watching DD News and I'm Preeti presenting Breakfast News this morning. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you everything that's making it to the headlines. We'll get you national news, we'll get you international updates from the world of business, sports, enough to keep you engaged for the next 1 hour. Stay with us, we'll get you the headlines first. CBSE Class 12 board exams stand cancelled due to COVID following a review meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Results to be compiled by CBSE under well-defined and objective criteria in a time-bound manner. ICSE boards also follows the suit. Prime Minister stresses that health and safety of students is of utmost importance and there can be no compromise on this. Second wave of COVID-19 weakens in the country. Daily positivity rate drops to 6.62%. And that has been less than 8% for 8th consecutive day. Positivity rate less than 5% in 344 districts of the country. Unlock process begins in some states. Centre says it is fully prepared for COVID's third wave, which may impact children. National COVID Task Force will submit guidelines on children very soon. Health Ministry says all will be vaccinated by end of the year. BRICS foreign ministers meet held virtually with India as the chair. Focus remains on COVID-19 pandemic, access to vaccines and counter-terrorism. Ministers agreed on 6 principles for strengthening and reforming the multilateral system. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says India strives for a fair, just, inclusive, equitable and representative multipolar international system. Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal cruised through the first round of French Open. World number 1 Novak Djokovic salutes brave and bold Naomi Osaka for withdrawing from the Grand Slam after revealing her struggles with depression and anxiety, while Grand Slam pledges to create meaningful improvements over the issue. Alright, those were the top stories. Let's get to the news in detail now. CBSE board exams for classes 12 have been cancelled. The decision was taken in a meeting where Prime Minister followed and reviewed on the issue. Following suit, ICSE has also decided that board examinations as well will not be held this year. Officials gave a detailed presentation on the wide and extensive consultation held so far and views received from all stakeholders, including the state governments. In view of the uncertain conditions due to COVID and the feedback obtained from various stakeholders, it was decided that Class 12 board examinations would not be held this year. It was also decided that CBSE will take steps to compile the results of Class 12 students as per the well-defined objective criteria in a time-bound manner. Prime Minister said that the decision on Class 12 CBSE exams has been taken in interest of the students. He stated that COVID-19 has affected the academic calendar and that the issue of board exams has been causing immense anxiety among students, parents and teachers, which must be put to an end. The Prime Minister said that the COVID situation is a dynamic situation across the country. While the numbers are coming down in the country and some states are managing the situation through effective micro-containment, some states have still opted for a lockdown. Students, parents and teachers are naturally worried about the health of the students in such a situation. Prime Minister said that students should not be forced to appear for exams in such a stressful situation. He stressed that health and safety of our students is of utmost importance and there would be no compromise on this aspect. He said that in today's time, such exams cannot be the reason to put our youth at risk. He said that all stakeholders need to show sensitivity for students. He also directed officials to ensure that results are prepared in accordance with well-defined criteria in a fair and time-bound manner. Referring to the two-wide consultative process, the Prime Minister expressed appreciation that a student-friendly decision has been reached after consulting all stakeholders from across the length and breadth of the country. He also thanked the states for providing feedback on the issue, and it was also decided that like last year, in case the students desire to take the examinations, such an option would be provided to them by CBSE as and when the situation becomes conducive. And to get us more on that, our correspondent Meghna Dev is joining us. Meghna, the CBSE Class 12 board examinations and also ICSE board examinations have been cancelled for this year. We've spelled out the details for our viewers. What I want you to explain is that tell us about how the CBSE will be reviewing the performance of the child in a the criteria which has been put forward. Spell out more details on that.
Absolutely, pretty very important decision taken by the government, to end the anxiety between students, among parents as well as teachers as well. Were very anxious about what decision is going to come. Especially when you ask me about the assessment criteria, three key terms have been used: is that time bound, it has to be fair, and it has to be well decided. So that essentially means not only for the 12th board examinations, but also we have seen on 14th April when it was announced that the 10th board examinations also stand cancelled. After that, a criteria had come, and assessment criteria had come, in which there were, some weightage was given to the unit test, some weightage was given to the midterms, some weightage was also given to the pre-boards. So, a cumulative assessment, an average assessment of all those three, such kind of assessment can be considered in the case when we talk about the assessment for the 12th board examinations. Also, marks from 9th standard, 10th standard and 11th standard, an average of that also can be considered. So it's not just to be a sporadic assessment, it has to be a complete performance assessment that can be done. So, any of these options might just, an enhanced option or some changes with this, and alternative assessment will be done accordingly, which has to be very fair, which also has to be time bound, because all the assessment has to be done and then has to be sent to the respective boards, so that the assessment, the entire assessment, be it the practicals, the unit tests, midterms, pre-boards, all of that assessment has to be done. So this stands, this comes in very timely, so that the students are also aware that how have they performed earlier, because this the last year has been a very tough academic year for the students. They have hardly been able to go to school. All the classes that have happened mostly online, and the students have hardly been able to attend the chalk method, the classroom method of teaching. So this has become a really important time. And not only this, several tests, if we talk about the weekly tests conducted by the school or the unit tests conducted by the school, all those tests mostly have happened online because of the situations. But besides, keeping all that aside, a very important thing for the students is also that if in case the students are not satisfied with their marks, when the situation becomes conducive, they can appear for the exams, they can write their exams. So this is also an option that has been given. But when CBSE announced, the ICSE also followed suit, and there are now state governments also which would be analyzing the situation and might just follow what kind of assessment the CBSE brings in, because in a day or two or in a few days we might just know about the assessment criteria, because the time bound, because it has to happen in a time bound manner. So not only now, but once the criteria is out, the assessment has to be done, and after that the result also has to be prepared. So this is going to be a complete synchronized situation in which the assessment is of utmost important, the criteria is of utmost important, so that the teachers can also analyze and the students can also see how far and how well have they performed, because these are not some other class examinations, these are 12th board examinations, which are extremely crucial when you want to get into admissions into other colleges. Besides that, not only about the 12th boards, but also we have seen last year also there were some exams that were postponed, there were competitive exams that were postponed, and even JEE Advanced, JEE Mains, all these exams have been postponed, NEET exams also. So now we also have to see that this decision, though it has been taken for the 12th boards for now, what ahead, what kind of examinations will be held when it lies ahead, when we talk about different kind of entrance examinations as well. So we'll have to see about that also, and I believe that that announcement will also come anytime soon once we are done with the 10th results as well as the 12th results.
All right, once the evaluation is done, we could expect something on that as well. Now, Meghna, this has been decided in consultation with all the stakeholders across length and breadth of the country. What reactions have you got? How well has this decision been received?
Definitely, when I tell you that this decision was a timely decision, the reactions have been, on Twitter also, we have been seeing reactions pouring in because the students were waiting that, there has to be some concrete decision that should come because, the anxiety had taken over. What if, because when in April, the students had seen the 10th board exams getting cancelled, so they were expecting that what if our exams also get cancelled? How are we going to prepare? How well have we performed in our previous, midterm or pre-board examinations and all of that. So there was a lot of anxiety, and now when that anxiety has come to an end, it is a sigh of relief, not only for the students but also for the teachers, because it's not only a hard time for the students, it has been a really hard time and a really tough year during the pandemic for the teachers as well, who have been constantly taking online classes, and because the academic year, as I told you, has gone for a toss in the pandemic, and only the online method has been kept alive, and the online method is doing all the teaching. So parents is definitely are very happy because when, as the Prime Minister said, no compromise on the health of our students. So that is what the parents, the Prime Minister has echoed the voice of the parents of the students,
right,
and has definitely that no compromise on the health of the students, and this is of the utmost priority, and the priorities have been put straight, that first the health of our students and the health of our youth comes, and after that any kind of assessment or any kind of method procedure that has to be chalked out will be chalked out. So definitely a very positive reaction that is coming from all states, and now the state board students are also expecting that any decision for them also should come soon, because in some states the situation is really improving quite a lot, but in some states the situation is still on the verge of improving, or the situation is still the positivity rate and all of that is still improving. So we definitely have to see what decision the state board also take, because it has to be a collective effort from all the state governments as well and the state boards as well. So for the CBSE and ICSE, the students and the parents seem quite relaxed as of now, but they're just awaiting the assessment criteria so they can also themselves evaluate. But definitely for the state board students, the state governments have to take quick action.
All right, Meghna, thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. That was our correspondent Meghna Dev telling us more about the decision which has been taken, wherein the CBSE and ICSE examinations, board examinations for class 12 will not be held this year. We'll keep you updated. In other news, India has reported 1,27,510 fresh COVID cases. That is the lowest in 54 days. The daily positivity rate dropped to 6.62%. The Union Health Ministry's data released on Tuesday tells the story of a steady decline in cases. The Health Ministry expressed cautious optimism that the second wave is weakening, but also cautioned about the future. States and union territories have been sensitized on the matter as well.
India continues to fight COVID-19 with all its might. Centre and states' coordinated efforts against COVID-19 have been paying off as the pace of the second wave has now weakened. The country has been witnessing a continuous decline in new COVID-19 cases. In the last 24 hours, 1,27,000 new cases were reported, the lowest in the last 54 days. Over 2,55,000 patients recovered from COVID in the last 24 hours. For the 19th consecutive day, the number of people recovering from the disease has exceeded the number of daily new cases. At present, the total number of active cases in the country is 18,95,520. Active cases dipped below 20 lakhs after 43 days. In the last 24 hours, there has been a decrease of 1,30,572 in the active cases. The country's new cases have come down by 70% and active cases by 50%. With this, recovery rate in the country has increased to 92.09%. Weekly positivity rate is currently 8.64% and the daily positivity rate is now 6.62%, which remained below 10% for 8 consecutive days. Positivity is less than 5% in 344 districts of the country.
टेस्टिंग कपल्ड विद कंटेनमेंट से हमने पाया कि जहां देश की पॉजिटिविटी औसतन बढ़ते बढ़ते 21.38% हो गई थी, वह पिछले 3 हफ्तों से कंटिन्यूड बेसिस पर एक डिक्रीजिंग ट्रेंड नोट किया जा रहा है और ऑन एन एवरेज पिछले हफ्ते में देश में 8.31% केस पॉजिटिविटी नोट की गई है। 34 स्टेट्स और यूनियन टेरिटरीज ऐसी हैं जहां पर कि ऑन ए कंटिन्यूड बेसिस हम इस ट्रेंड इन डिक्रीज इन पॉजिटिविटी को नोट भी कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि मुख्यतः उत्तराखंड, छत्तीसगढ़, झारखंड, गुजरात, मध्य प्रदेश, दिल्ली, बिहार, तेलंगाना और यूपी में यह केस पॉजिटिविटी पिछले एक हफ्ते में 5% से भी कम नोट की गई है।
On the vaccination front, the drive is continuously picking up pace. 21.6 crore doses of shots have been given to people so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. 2.03 crore jabs have been given in the age category of 18 to 44 years. India is among one of the 5 countries in the world which is manufacturing its own indigenously developed vaccine. The centre has asserted that plenty of vaccines will be available by the end of October and urged people to be patient. According to the Health Ministry, the goal of the centre is to provide vaccination to all by December.
By December, we hope to have the whole country vaccinated. India is one of the 5 countries which is producing vaccines. If we were not producing vaccines, imagine where would we be? So, there is no shortage of vaccine.
On the increasing cases of infection among children, the Ministry of Health has said that a national group which was formed will submit its guidelines very soon. The centre says that full preparations are being made to deal with the upcoming challenges.
पैंडेमिक के बिहेवियर को देखते हुए और वायरस की नेचर को देखते हुए न्यू वे टू एड्रेस दिस और रिन्यूड वे, अपडेटेड वे करने के लिए गाइडलाइंस जो हैं वो इस ग्रुप ने हमें प्रस्तुत कर दी हैं। पीडियाट्रिक पॉपुलेशन को कोविड के लिए जो ज़रूरत है वो उसका बंदोबस्त होगा और उस बंदोबस्त में कोई कमी नहीं होगी और जैसे मैंने कहा उसको नई साइंस, नए एक्सपीरियंस, नए नॉलेज को भी भरपूर करते हुए उस तरफ हम बढ़ेंगे।
The Health Ministry says that the second wave is weakening but cautioned about the future. The states and union territories have been sensitized on the matter.
हम पूरी कोशिश ये करेंगे और प्रोटोकॉल्स को अच्छी तरह से फॉलो करेंगे, इंडिविजुअली भी और कलेक्टिवली, तो फिर क्यों कोई दूसरी बारी कोई वेव आएगी।
The unlocking also has to be done very patiently, guided by the amount of vaccination that has been done for the vulnerable groups.
Efforts are constantly being made to ensure the supply of liquid medical oxygen amidst the pandemic. So far, Indian Railways has delivered more than 22,916 metric tons of liquid medical oxygen in more than 1,357 tankers to various states across the country. 334 oxygen expresses have completed their journeys so far, offloading liquid medical oxygen in around 39 cities and towns in 15 states across the country. The government has now started providing oxygen to the industrial units as well.
Government has relaxed the supply of oxygen to certain categories of industries. The liquid medical oxygen usage will be allowed on temporary basis, subject to ensuring adequate supply of liquid medical oxygen to hospitals and for other medical purposes as per the demands of the states and the union territories. We will be releasing about 2,000 tons of oxygen on daily basis.
As the new cases in the second wave continue to decline, now there is an urgent need to follow COVID protocols to avoid the spread of infection. For it is expected from all of us to follow all guidelines issued from time to time by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and other agencies engaged in battling the COVID-19 pandemic. Bureau Report, DD India.
The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccines in the country that has been administered so far exceeds 21.83 crore. The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country stands at 21 crore 83 lakh 58,595. That is 91. Also, 9,50,401 beneficiaries of the age group of 18 to 44 years have received their first dose, and 15,467 beneficiaries of the same age group received their second dose of the COVID vaccine yesterday. Cumulatively, 2,13,01,448 people across 37 states and union territories have received their first dose, and a total of 39,282 have received their second dose since the start of phase 3 of the vaccination drive. As on day 137 of the vaccination drive, that was yesterday, a total of 22,08,941 vaccine doses were given. Bihar, Delhi, Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal have administered more than 10 lakh beneficiaries of the age group of 18 to 44 years for the first dose of the COVID vaccine. The multi-pronged strategy to bring the second wave of COVID pandemic under control has paid its dividends across the country. The number of new infections has consistently been declining. Almost 69% decline was witnessed in cases since the peak that was recorded on 7th of May. Several measures across states and strict adherence to lockdown and COVID protocols have been the catalyst for this change. But the fight against the pandemic still continues. We get to more in this report.
The COVID-19 situation continues to show a daily improvement across the country. In Uttar Pradesh, positivity rate stands at 0.5% in the country's largest state in terms of population. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held a meeting with members of Team 9. He also visited a vaccination camp in Lucknow and said that there has been a decrease in active cases in the state, so the curfew is being relaxed from Tuesday.
उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर आज के दिन पर एक्टिव केस काफी कम हो चुके हैं और इसीलिए हम लोगों ने प्रदेश के अंदर 51 जनपदों में आज से कोरोना कर्फ्यू में सुबह 7 बजे से लेकर सायंकाल 7 बजे तक की पूरी छूट दी है। यही नहीं, 3 नए जनपद और हैं जिनको आज फिर हम छूट देने जा रहे हैं। जहां भी 600 से कम एक्टिव केस हैं, उन जनपदों को हम लोगों ने कोरोना कर्फ्यू में छूट देने की कार्रवाई प्रारंभ की। इसमें सफलतापूर्वक ये कार्यक्रम आगे बढ़ रहा है।
Vaccination camps for 18 to 44 years of age are underway across 75 districts of the state. Special vaccination centers for parents of children aged 12 years or below have also been set up.
कोवैक्सीन, कोविशील्ड दोनों लग रहा है। इसलिए विशेष है क्योंकि वो 12 साल तक के बच्चों के माता पिता को ये प्रमाण देने के बाद कि उनका बच्चा 12 साल या उससे नीचे है, उसको वैक्सीन लगाई जाएगी।
The recovery rate in Madhya Pradesh has increased to 96.36%. Positivity rate has also come down to 1.5%. State Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan said that only Indore and Bhopal have a positivity rate of 5%.
Positivity rate घट के हमारा 1.5% रह गया। रिकवर जो हुए हैं 4,120 है। खुशी की बात यह है कि हमारा रिकवरी रेट ये 96.36% हो गई है, जो अपने आप में हम सब के लिए बहुत संतोषजनक खबर है। लेकिन उससे भी बड़ी बात यह है कि 36 जिलों में अब पॉजिटिव प्रकरण परसों 32 में थे, आज 36 जिलों में 10 से कम है।
In the national capital Delhi, 623 cases of corona infections have been reported over the past 24 hours. The positivity rate is at 0.88%. However, there was some disturbing news from Jaipur. In a gross violation of COVID protocol, over 1,500 people attended the funeral of a religious cum social leader. Jaipur police has launched FIR against 15 people, including a Congress MLA.
जहां सरकार ने व्यवस्था बनाई हुई है कि दाह संस्कार के अंदर सीमित लोग ही जाएं, उसके बावजूद सरकार ने अपनी आंख बंद कर दी और व्यवस्था भी करी। जहां 3,000 लोग शामिल हुए उनके जनाजे में। कोविड खत्म नहीं हुआ है और कोविड समुदाय और धर्म देखकर नहीं संक्रमण रोकता या फैलाता। तो ऐसी हालात के अंदर जो कानून एक लागू हुआ है वो सभी के लिए होना चाहिए और ये तुष्टीकरण की हम बिल्कुल खिलाफत करते हैं।
Municipal elections are due in Mumbai next year. Mumbai Mayor Kishori Pednekar has said that a decision on holding them will be taken depending on the situation in the state. To ensure availability of oxygen in Bihar, PSA plants are being set up across 54 hospitals.
ऑक्सीजन की उपलब्धता और बढ़े, इस सोच के साथ जहां एक तरफ राज्य के 54 अस्पतालों में PSA प्लांट्स लगाया जा रहा है जो हमारे अनुमंडल और जिला अस्पतालों में होगा, वहीं मेडिकल कॉलेज अस्पताल में क्रायोजेनिक ऑक्सीजन टैंक लगाए जा रहे हैं जिसमें ऑक्सीजन का भंडारण किया जाएगा।
Though the situation in Odisha is also improving, restrictions in the state have been extended.
हमने सारा डिस्ट्रिक्ट का कलेक्टर, अपना म्यूनसिपैलिटी कमिश्नर को हमने बोले हैं, हर जगह हम कमेटी कर दिए हैं, वो लोग एसेस करेंगे, जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जो चाहिए दे विल टेक एक्शन एज पर देयर रिपोर्ट्स। और मेरे को पूरा उम्मीद है जिस जिला में कलेक्टर को फीलिंग होगा कि यहाँ लॉकडाउन होगा, कि यहाँ ये करना चाहिए, वो तुरंत उस ग्रहण कर सकते।
Dharmendra Pradhan inaugurated a 270-bed COVID care center at Jindal Steel and Power Plant in Angul, donning a PPE kit. He also visited the ICU center. The contribution of women in battling COVID-19 was on display at an RT-PCR testing lab in Surat's new civil hospital, where 90% of the employees are women. These corona warriors are truly an inspiration for the nation. Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, to get us more on that and the situation in the national capital, our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya is joining us. Tapas, we've given a detailed report to our viewers telling us about the situation, how the recovery rate is rising, but still caution has to be followed in the fight against the pandemic. Where are we standing? And also specifically talk about the situation in the national capital. Even as we say, we tell our viewers that these cases in the national capital are declining and the situation is somewhat improving.
Absolutely, without a iota of doubt, Preeti, that the situation in the national capital along with the whole country has improved drastically, coming from the fact that on April 20th, the number of daily cases in the national capital at one particular time was over 28,000. From that, Delhi saw the number of cases coming down. In fact, the positivity rate also at one particular time was over 35%, 36%, which means that almost one out of every 3% or 4% in the national capital at one particular time was testing positive. From there, the positivity rate has now dipped below 1% for the second day in a row, and with 623 fresh cases reported yesterday. And it is, the rate has been going down as we are talking about. On 20th of April, the number of cases stood at, for daily number of cases stood at 28,000. So you can imagine very well reduction of almost 8 times in a month in the national capital. Also, the fertilities too have been coming down. In fact, Delhi's you saw almost 62 fertilities, which is again for quite less than earlier. In fact, at the beginning on the case fertility rate now stands at almost 1.70%. So those are some of the figures that we've been talking about. The numbers have come down, and there is one belief that in due course of time, with the unlocking process that has already started will pick up momentum. Although it has been mentioned that it's keeping a close vigil on micromanagement. It's not just macro management, but micro management. So on not just in the district, but also even inside the district where they believe that situation can worsen. They are keeping a hawk eye, and the 3Ts, the testing, tracking, and treatment is going on pretty well. In fact, as far as the latest health bulletin, one could see that there are a lot of ICU beds as well as normal beds are vacant in the hospital. So those are good news for the Delhiites who have been battling the pandemic in the national capital. As far as center is concerned, a lot of measures have been taken, and those are now paying dividends. Which we can see that the number of cases, which at one point of time the highest case came at around over 4 lakhs, has now considerably reduced. And as the day goes, as the day passes, one expects the number of cases to dip even further, along with the positivity ratio in the country. Pretty.
All right, Tapas, thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. That was our correspondent telling us about the current situation with regard to the COVID pandemic in the national capital. Remember, we are on a very decisive stage in the fight against COVID-19. Wear a mask, wear it correctly and properly. The recovery rate is rising, the cases are declining, the situation is improving, but that does not mean that we let our guards down. We have to keep following the COVID appropriate behavior and we have to keep fighting against the pandemic. Get yourself vaccinated and also keep following the COVID appropriate behavior. Let's get to other news. Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has approved the notification to ensure that private hospitals in the state cannot overcharge patients for COVID treatment. He has also directed district collectors and municipal commissioners for strict and effective implementation. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Maharashtra corona updates. 14,123 new cases were reported in the state. 35,949 patients were discharged in the last 24 hours. 54,31,319 COVID-19 patients were discharged after full recovery so far. 477 COVID-19 related deaths were reported in Maharashtra yesterday. Out of 3,52,77,653 lab samples, 57,61,015 have been tested positive. That is 16.33 is the positivity rate for COVID-19 until today. International aid continues to pour in India to fight against COVID-19. The Ministry of External Affairs said that a consignment of 15 ventilators and 12,000 tablets of favipiravir has reached India from Iceland on Wednesday morning. Significantly, corona cases in India are decreasing every passing day with steady decline in the number of COVID patients. Decline in the number of active patients is also being observed. Telangana state is celebrating its 8th Formation Day today. Governor Dr. T. Soundararajan and Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao have greeted people on the occasion. The Formation Day celebrations will be held in all districts and the capital city Hyderabad in accordance with the COVID norms. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu has extended greetings to people of Telangana on their state Formation Day today. In a tweet, he said, Telangana is home to age-old traditions and is known for its rich history, diverse culture, heritage and architectural grandeur. He added that the state and its able people have contributed immensely towards development of the nation. He extended his best wishes for progress and prosperity of the state and also the well-being of its people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also extended greetings to people of Telangana. The Prime Minister tweeted, and I quote him, he says that the state is blessed with unique culture and hardworking people who have excelled in many areas. He also offered prayers for good health and well-being of the people of Telangana. Union Minister for Information and also Broadcasting Prakash Javadekar also greeted people of Telangana. In a tweet, he said, warm greetings to people of Telangana on the State Formation Day. He prayed for prosperity and good health of the people of Telangana. India, as the current BRICS chair, convened the standalone meeting of BRICS Ministers of Foreign Affairs and International Relations on Tuesday. Ministers exchanged views on furthering the intra-BRICS cooperation on the 3 pillars of political and security, economic and finance, and people-to-people and cultural exchanges. Delivering the welcome remarks at the meeting, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said that our collective endeavour is to ensure that global decision-making represents the contemporary realities. To this end, India has identified the 4 key deliverables for this chairship. They include reform of the multilateral system, counter-terrorism cooperation, using digital and technological solutions to achieve the SDGs, and enhancing people-to-people cooperation.
We have identified 4 key deliverables for our chairship: reform of the multilateral system, counter-terrorism cooperation, using digital and technological solutions to achieve SDGs, and enhancing people-to-people cooperation. I'm very happy to note that we have made substantial progress on each of these areas in the past 5 months with the continued cooperation and support of our partners.
As per the joint statement, the foreign ministers of Brazil, Russian Federation, India, China and South Africa reviewed progress in intra-BRICS cooperation and collaboration. The ministers also expressed concern over continuing public health, societal and economic impact of COVID-19. Emphasis on bilateral and multilateral cooperation to combat the pandemic was also laid, and urgency for expeditious development and deployment of COVID-19 vaccines was also on their minds. Ministers, however, reiterated their commitment to multilateralism through upholding international law and reaffirmed the commitment towards implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Foreign ministers also expressed their concern at continuing conflicts and violence in different parts of the world. In a goodwill gesture, ministers commended India and South Africa for their respective present and recent terms served in the UNSC. Meanwhile, support for a transparent, rule-based, open, inclusive and non-discriminatory multilateral trading system was also stressed upon. And lastly, the need to restore the normal functioning of all WTO's functions were also taken up. Up next, we get you all the international updates in our segment Across the Globe. We first begin by taking the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. When we talk of the figures, the world continues to fight against the pandemic. So far, over 17 crore 19 lakh people have tested positive for the virus globally. The number of recoveries stand at more than 15 crore 44 lakh. As many as 35 lakh 75,000 people have died worldwide due to the virus. The United States continues to register maximum number of cases in the world. More than 3 crore 41 lakh people have been tested positive for the virus in the country, while the deaths so far due to the virus have crossed 6 lakh 10,000 mark. The World Health Organization has approved the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use. This is the second Chinese jab to receive WHO's green light. The UN Health Agency signed off on the 2-dose vaccine, which is already being deployed in several countries around the world. The move gives countries, funders, procuring agencies and also communities assurance that it meets international standards for safety, efficacy and manufacturing. Last month, Sinopharm became the first Chinese vaccine to be approved by the WHO. The organization has also given emergency use listing to vaccines being made by Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson and the AstraZeneca jab being produced in India, South Korea and the European Union, which it counts separately. World Bank President David Malpass has said that it is vital that the United States frees up excess COVID-19 vaccine doses for Latin America. He also said that World Bank now has $12 billion in COVID-19 vaccine financing available and will have approved vaccination financing operations in over 50 countries by the end of June.
These next few weeks are vital that, in particular, the U.S. frees up excess to go to programs that exist. We're ready to take them tomorrow in the 3 countries I mentioned, and by 2 weeks from now in more countries within Latin America. Thanks. Each of us has an important role in this global vaccination effort. My immediate priority is for countries that have sufficient supply to quickly release doses to countries that have vaccination deployment programs. The World Bank has $12 billion in vaccine financing available now and more if needed to help countries buy and distribute COVID-19 vaccines and to encourage vaccinations.
Moderna has said that it has started an application for full US approval of its COVID-19 vaccine, which is currently only authorized for emergency use in the country. The development comes weeks after rival Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech sought full approval of their COVID-19 vaccine in the United States. Full approval for vaccines, which are at the forefront of global immunization efforts, could be an important step in allaying vaccine hesitancy, a growing concern in the United States and other wealthy nations. Moderna said that it will continue to submit data to the US Food and Drug Administration on a rolling basis over the coming weeks with a request for a priority review. Once the rolling submission is complete, the FDA will notify the company when it is formally accepted for review. Brazil has signed a technology transfer contract with the pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca to produce the vaccine against COVID-19 developed by University of Oxford. The agreement will allow the federally run Oswaldo Cruz Foundation to have full access to the drug's production method and also manufacture in the country the active pharmaceutical ingredient, a key component of the vaccines. Firecruz produced the AstraZeneca vaccine but imported the API from other countries. Talking to media, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro said that the agreement would make Brazil to be able to export the vaccine to neighboring countries and also other developing nations. Meanwhile, in France, Parisians could enjoy the sun now as entire France experienced summer-like weather. After a grey and chilly past few weeks, temperatures rose to 27 degrees Celsius in the French capital. The sunny weather comes as France gradually lifts COVID-19 restrictions, starting with reopening of restaurants, terraces, theatres and museums in May. Dining terraces, a major feature of the life in Paris, and cultural sites have attracted flocks of people, bringing back the lively buzz in the capital. Algeria partially reopened its skies to flights on Tuesday after a 14-month shutdown due to COVID-19 pandemic. Great caution governed the partial reopening with limited flights, tests for COVID and a required quarantine. Those heading to Algiers must have a negative PCR test less than 36 hours before boarding, and all passengers must undergo 5-day quarantine in a hotel requisitioned by the state. A negative test result is required to leave the hotel. The number of weekly flights and destinations is limited to 5 cities of France, Tunisia, Spain and Turkey. Algeria closed its borders and suspended flights in March 2020 when the global pandemic struck, only reopening them to humanitarian flights from France between January and March this year. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has said that it would be wrong to ignore warnings of a third COVID wave in the United Kingdom. In an address to Parliament, she said that many public health experts are warning that the UK could now be at the start of a third wave. A scientific advisor to the UK government has warned that there were signs the UK was in early stages of a third wave of infections. Keeping in mind the current situation, Scotland's first Prime Minister has paused lockdown easing in some areas of the country. Many island communities will move to level 0, that is the lowest level there is under Scotland's 5-tier system, while 15 council areas will step down to level 1, but 13 local authority areas including Edinburgh, Dundee and Stirling will remain in level 2 for the time being. Ecuador has launched a plan to vaccinate 9 million people against COVID-19 in 100 days. The South American country's rollout will use more than 300 spaces that had been equipped to serve as election centers in the recent April vote. The government will deploy mobile vaccination brigades to hard-to-reach rural areas, including the communities of the Amazon region. The country has so far received around 3.5 million doses of vaccines, including Pfizer, AstraZeneca vaccines. Also negotiating with the Russian government is on to purchase 18 million doses of Sputnik 5 vaccine. The Ecuadorian president also asked the United Nations to speed up delivery of vaccines through COVAX initiative. Ecuador began its inoculation campaign in January, but former president failed to make rapid progress due to logistical problems and also frequent changes of authorities in the health area. Ecuador has registered over 4,27,000 infections and more than 20,500 deaths. In other news, NATO foreign and defense ministers have agreed to continue supporting the Afghan community even after withdrawal of forces from Kabul. Addressing a press conference following a virtual meeting of NATO defense ministers, the alliance's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that NATO will keep a civilian diplomatic presence in Kabul following the drawdown of its forces, which according to him is progressing in an orderly and coordinated way. The meeting, including one with foreign ministers earlier in the day, focused on NATO's 2030 agenda to strengthen the alliance for the future ahead of the summit scheduled for June 14th in Brussels. After almost 2 decades in Afghanistan, NATO allies decided in the middle of April to start withdrawing forces from the Central Asian country by May 1st, with plans to complete the drawdown of all troops within a few months. Google Doodle today celebrates American gay rights activist Frank Kameny, widely recognized as one of the most prominent figures of the U.S. LGBTQ rights movement, in celebration of the Pride Month. Kameny, a Harvard astronomy PhD who was reportedly fired from a federal job in the 1950s because of his homosexuality, was a leading militant in the ultimately successful fight to give gay people U.S. security clearances. He also played a major role in the campaign that led the American Psychiatric Association to stop classifying homosexuality as a mental disorder. Up next, we get to Web News Review. And for this, Amrit is joining us this morning. Amrit, good morning. Let us know what all headlines have you picked up from us from the social media platforms.
Good morning, Preeti. Most newspapers have printed the terms of unlock that the central government recommends. The ICMR Director General recommended them, saying that districts should follow that. Of them, positivity. The Indian Express headline is that terms of unlock, positivity below 5%, 70% of vulnerable groups vaccinated. Now, according to the DG of ICMR, he said that positivity rate should be less than 5% for a week, a vaccination of 70% of the vulnerable population, and community ownership of COVID-appropriate behavior and care. Now, these should be the guidelines for unlockdown criteria for districts to ward off a possible third wave. But Dr. Balram Bhargav, the DG of ICMR, who's also a member of India's COVID-19 task force, underlined that while gradual lifting of restrictions will lead to stopping the surge, he said districts have to ensure that vaccination has to be prioritized. He said in terms of preventing the third wave, and the paper quotes him, it's very simple that districts with less than 5% positivity should open up a little bit. They should also very gradually open up. They should ensure that vulnerable population should achieve at least 70% of the vaccination. If that has not been achieved, they should vaccinate them and only then open up and gradually, he stressed. The other story that the Indian Express has printed, it says, old have lived their lives, says Delhi High Court pushes for priority in jabs and drugs to young. Now, the Delhi High Court yesterday said to the center's policy does not prioritize youth in the COVID vaccination drive, and it said it should. It said younger patients should be prioritized in distribution of the drug to treat mucormycosis, or what is popularly referred to as black fungus. This was a division bench of Justices Vipin Singh and Jasmeet Singh, who directed the government to come out with a policy on distribution of the drugs for treatment of black fungus. And he said that youngsters should be prioritized for giving vaccination and the drugs for mucormycosis. The other story that the Z Media platform has published, it says CBSE, CIS CE Class 12th board exams cancelled. Netizens celebrate the decision. And it also puts out that there were hilarious memes that were being shared on a social media platform. Now, the meeting held by the Prime Minister yesterday, where it was decided that Class 12th board exams of CBSE and CE should be cancelled in view of the uncertain conditions due to COVID-19. It was also decided at this review meeting that CBSE will take steps to compile the results of Class 12 students as per a well-defined objective criteria in a time-bound manner. He said that the health and safety, the Prime Minister, the Newspad platform reports, stressed that health and safety of students is of utmost importance, and in no circumstances this aspect should be compromised, and therefore by holding exams, the youth and children cannot be put at risk. The other story that the Times of India has printed, it says monsoon likely to be higher end of normal, IMD. Now, the Indian Meteorological Department on Tuesday upgraded its monsoon forecast and said that the country would receive normal to above normal rainfall with well distributed showers in the period from June to September this year. The paper quotes the DG of IMD, Mrityunjay Mahapatra, saying that quantitatively, the monsoon seasonal rainfall over the country as a whole is likely to be 101% of the long period average, with a model error of 4%. So that's good news both for farmers and other agro industries, because the prediction of IMD, if it comes true about a higher and much higher above normal rainfall and equal distribution or proportional distribution throughout the country, that could augur well for the crop produce. So that's what's made it to the newspapers and web portals this morning. Preeti, it's back to you in the studio.
All right, Amrit, thank you so much for joining us with that review this morning. And up next, we get you all the business updates in our segment Bizbuzz. Asian shares edged up to near 3-month highs on Wednesday, and global equities held steady near a record as data showing higher US manufacturing activity in May cheered investors looking for signs of a continued rebound in the world's largest economy. US manufacturing activity rose in May, the Institute for Supply Management, that is ISM, said on Tuesday, as pent-up demand boosted orders in a reopening economy, even as unfinished work piled up because of shortages of raw material and labor. Investors will be watching US jobs data due on Friday for clues to the Fed's plans for policy in the coming weeks and also months. On Tuesday, US stocks spared earlier gains following the ISM manufacturing data as investors mulled over the rebound and higher inflation. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.13% to 34,575.31. The S&P 500 lost 0.05% to 4,202, and the Nasdaq Composite ticked down 0.09% to 13,736. The domestic equity benchmark indices opened lower on Wednesday, dragged by selling in IT and financial stocks amid mixed global cues. Broader markets outperformed the benchmarks as the Nifty Small Cap 100 and Nifty Mid Cap 100 indices were trading 0.5% higher each. Sensex was trading around 51,690.68, down by 0.46%. Nifty 2 was trading in the red, losing 0.33%. Up next, Sports Track. Making changes regarding the World Cup, the International Cricket Council announced the Future Tours program for the next 8 years in a virtual meeting on Tuesday. According to the new changes, now 14 teams will be participating in the ODI World Cup. Currently, 10 teams participate in the 50-over World Cup. The Men's World Cup will feature 2 groups of 7 teams each, and the top 3 teams will advance to the Super Sixes, followed by semi-finals and the final. The ICSE will be implementing this format in the 2027 and 2031 World Cups. Now, apart from this, it was also decided to organize 4 more World Test Championships, which will be played in 8 years between 2023 and 2031. The Council has also decided to restart the Champions Trophy. The 8-team Champions Trophy will be held in 2025 and 2029. The ICSE World Test Championship finals will be played in 2025, 2027, 2029 and 2031. From cricket, let's talk of tennis now. World number 1 Novak Djokovic opened the first ever men's night session on Tuesday at the year's second Grand Slam French Open with an easy win over Tennis Sandgren with 6-2, 6-4, 6-2 in the first round match to reach the second round. Into the second round for the 17th consecutive time, Djokovic will next face Pablo Cuevas. Clay court legend and defending champion Rafael Nadal of Spain had started the French Open with a win in his classic style. Nadal booked a place in the second round after beating Alexei Popyrin of Australia in the first round of men's singles. Third seed Nadal won the match 6-3, 6-2, 7-6. Meanwhile, 7th seed Andrei Rublev was knocked out in the first round of the French Open on Tuesday as the in-form Russian lost a 5-set thriller to Jan-Lennard Struff. Rublev fought back from 2 sets down before succumbing to Germany's Lennard in 3 hours and 46 minutes. Lennard won the match 6-3, 7-6, 4-6, 3-6, 6-4 in 5 sets. In the women's singles, top seed Ashley Barty overcame a strong challenge from American Bernarda Pera to win her first match at Roland Garros since she claimed the 2019 French Open title. Barty eventually won the 3-set match 6-4, 3-6, 6-2 to make it to the second round. Along with Barty, 5th seed Elena Svitolina fought back from 5-2 down in the second to beat 17-year-old French wildcard Oceane Babel 6-2, 7-5 in the first round of the French Open to move to the second round. Meanwhile, Novak Djokovic has backed Japanese tennis player Naomi Osaka's decision to pull out of the French Open after a comfortable first-round win. Djokovic has described Osaka as brave and courageous to pull out of the Grand Slam after revealing her struggle with depression and anxiety. Djokovic said in a statement that he supports Osaka, adding that she was brave enough to do that and that he is sorry that she is going through a painful time and is suffering mentally. Reacting to this development, the 4 Grand Slams have said that they are looking at changes to their tournaments in light of the crisis. According to a statement issued by Grand Slam, it was stated that they stand with the players in the tours, also the media, the broader tennis community to create meaningful improvements. World number 2, Naomi Osaka, decided to pull out of the French Open, citing depression and anxiety after winning the first round. That's it in this edition of the news this hour. But before we go, we leave you with this reminder every day to keep wearing a mask and wear it correctly and properly. And also every day we leave you with some visuals with that feel-good spirit, which we are sure stays with you through the rest of the day. Someone has said very well that no dream is ever just a dream and one should never lose them, come what may. One such story comes from Russia, where a ballerina dream of winning the world. Rochelle Armstrong will take a leap towards her dream of becoming one of the world's top ballet dancers when she graduates from Russia's renowned Bolshoi Ballet Academy this month. Before we end this breakfast show this morning, we leave you with the beautiful glimpses of this dance. Take a look. Have a good day ahead. Bye-bye.